Hello everyone and welcome to this live trading stream. I hope you're all doing very well. Please give me a quick sound confirmation. In the beginning I wasn't able to play music. That's why you're saying there's no sound because it's on YouTube. And very important, today we have the FOMC data release, which most of you know by now, the Fed interest rate decision. And I am going to do the first 30 minutes on YouTube and then I'm going to go over to the website to actually live trade this. What you can see is that I'm currently in one trade on NASDAQ. This is a short trade I've taken. I've already hit 2 take profits on this trade. One is just with a trade stop loss. I am securing 1,500 on this trade. And I'm just going to see how that plays out. What I want to do here is have a look at BTC and identify some areas of interest for potential volatility that we might get for the FOMC data release. Okay, so very important. If anyone is interested in seeing me trade this live, that's what I'm going to do on the website. If we already find a trade here, I'm going to do that already on YouTube. Else, I'm just going to share my plans here, and then the actual trading entries are going to be on the website. So yeah, let's see if we can actually see some good setups here. On BTC, we had some interesting price action. I was doing a BTC update yesterday and I was mentioning that I'm expecting another move to the upside on BTC because we have just seen a beautiful sign of strength. Okay, so let's just review a couple of price action. We were coming off the back of a nice liquidity grab up here. All we have done though was test the previous supply zone for another move to the upside, and the local strength I was seeing here was simple supply into demand flips. That to me was signaling that price, yeah, with a very high probability wanted to make a new high. And this is something I do all the time when I try to follow price. Okay, always checking these supply into demand flips. We had one down here after flipping that bigger one. So this is local strength. And then we were struggling holding that here. Overall, though, that still looked good. At the time, I was expecting this move to the upside. Very important. What I said was we have to keep this low intact. To me, that looked finished. And my next area of interest was this daily up here. I mentioned this could only be a quick scalp trade. So yeah, that was all. And my next level of interest to the upside remains the same, and that is $118,000. I'm going to explain to you why this is an interesting level for the Fed interest rate decision. Okay, so whenever it comes to these major data releases, I am looking for levels that are a little bit further away from price, and also I want to see liquidity line up with this level. So for example, a daily like this right here, I'm going to clean up my chart just a little bit, 116,878 was, yes, a daily level, but it was never lining up with any good level of liquidity. So that for me wasn't the most important level. Only on the local time frames it was possible to look at this as a quick SFP type of trade. But overall, that wasn't the best level. So going into the Fed interest rate decision, I need to check some areas of liquidity in terms of simple highs or lows. We can always check the DOM to see what we actually got in terms of liquidity, but we can technically assume there's some liquidity above those highs in terms of the stop losses. And for me, the area really starts at 118, but as I mentioned, I would want to see that high taken at 118,600. So I'm going to consider it more of a zone starting on this weekly NPOC up to the weekly. That's going to be a big zone, but for me, that will be a swing trading area of interest. Okay, so for me, this really is the one and only quote-unquote big resistance that we have on BTC. And I am very happy with taking a trade here and even being stopped out of this trade, because as you all know, this was given publicly on YouTube, on the Discord, on Twitter or X, everything, that I've taken this long trade down here. So even if I take this head trade, which might be stopped out, because I do think that if we claim this range point of previous range point of control, we are going to see a new all-time high on BTC. That's why this is an important level, and it does validate a trade here. So if there's a good reaction, I'm going to take a trade here in this area here on BTC. Okay, now when it comes to the good swing trades, it was obviously down here. That was the daily that we had at $108,000. We had nice candle formation here. I took this trade. I can see we're moving up on NQ, but the stop loss is trailed into profit, so that's all good. Okay, so when it comes to a level of interest to the downside for more of a day trade for this FOMC data release, it's going to be 113.1. That's actually an interesting number, 113,113. This is the uptrend anchored VWAP from this low that we made at, what's the exact low? 107,202. So uptrend anchored VWAP lining up with the previous range value area high. It's lining up with some local liquidity here. We can see this, and it's lining up with the previous supply zone. So in my opinion, when it comes to trading the FOMC or the Fed interest rate decision, there is two interesting levels, this level to the upside, that level to the downside. We have to see if it's actually going to be that big of a move. Okay, we know in the stock market we can get those massive moves where we can even look a couple of percentages away from a current price action, or at least many ticks away. On BTC, we have to be realistic and say, well, this move to the upside is a 1.8% move to the upside. I would say, though, it is realistic for a data release like this. And the level to the downside is 2.3% away. So that is my initial plan. I'm going to see if these areas will be hit. So my alerts are placed. So the first one is here at the value area high, this one at the daily above, just so I am aware of a potential front run of this NPOC. It's unlikely I would trade this, but my alert is just ahead of that level. Okay, so this is what I'm doing on BTC. I can even go down some time frames and have a look at something more local. However, I don't think I would feel comfortable trading within this range. I can show you on the 30-minute time frame. So if we look at this as a local range, for myself at least, everything I'm covering here obviously is no financial advice. But for me, trading in between the range between 114,400 and 117,300 is going to be a super risky play for this data release. So I want to see a break of this range, either to the upside or to the downside, into one of my bigger levels. But in between, I don't consider any of this amazing trading opportunities. What I'm going to do is have a quick look at NPOCs on the daily time frame just to see if I miss something. But I would say, yeah, the best level, honestly, is a little bit further away. So let's see BTC here. So we do have the daily point of control up here, previous day point of control. We do have one NPOC lining up with that liquidity down here. It is 114,255. I'm going to mark this out, 114,255. It's a daily NPOC. 5. I do prefer the level below 1000%. I can be aware of this region already, so I'm actually going to place two alerts. Okay, this one is my preferred level. This one is something if we see a quick liquidity grab here. Also nothing wrong with that level, as we do have liquidity line up here. Okay, this previous low, super important. Without this low, I wouldn't be interested in that level, but the fact that we do have some liquidity line up here actually makes this a slightly more interesting level. And here we can see a smaller move up on BTC, 0.3%. So yeah, those will be my areas of interest here. Very important. This is Ethereum, and I have taken this hedged short trade on Ethereum. This now has a very local stop loss. This was given in the Altcoin stream a couple of weeks ago. So my target is 3885. Couldn't care less if I'm stopped out of this position, as that is just a hedge, as I mentioned. But this is going to be my next area of interest still. Okay, so Ethereum, the box of interest, which is very far away, but in between I just don't see a good trade on Ethereum, is still 3885. Okay, Solana. What about Solana? I am interested in this swing trade here on Solana. However, I made it very clear how I'm entering this trade. My reference level is the monthly. Okay, I need to see the monthly loss. That is $230 on Solana, a daily close below, which would then also indicate a 30-minute confirmed market structure change. Let me show you. So this is the high, this is the low, lower high. So we have pivot number 1 being the lower low, pivot number 3 being the lower high. If we break this, do the daily close below, I would say yes, confirm market structure change. I'm activating this hedge trade because, as you know, because I was very public on Solana, I'm in 6 longs on Solana given every single low. So I do want to be hedged on those longs if I see weakness, but the weakness has to come to me first. I'm not going to blindly just short Solana. Solana is extremely strong. So I'm going to wait for the actual sign of strength, a sign of weakness, I'm sorry, and then take this trade on Solana. XRP, also into one of my hedging levels up here. It's just hedging a spot on my end and the area of interest 2.4. Let's have a quick look at the open interest on BTC on this move up, because I can see from, what is the time actually, 9 a.m. in the morning, my time, we have seen a steady increase in open interest, which is quite interesting, because at the highs, we had 30 million shorts open, then we had 20 million shorts open. Wow, there's going to be a lot of liquidity here if we stop those people out. So that is already 50 million shorts that opened here. Okay, as you know, open interest increase means there is new positions coming into the market. Yeah, that is, I mean, at least it was at resistance, but I would say with a data release like the one today, that has some solid chances to be stopped out here. Can now see some big longs open. So we do have people speculating. This is my assumption. So people are speculating on the FOMC, the Fed interest rate decision, because some are thinking we're going to get that big drop. Some are thinking we're going to get that big run to the upside, because we can see 50 million shorts. We can see almost the same size actually in terms of the long. So we have 10, 20, 40, 50. Yeah, so it's going to be 50 million shorts, 50 million longs. I would say the probabilities are extremely high to take this liquidity to the upside and also to the downside, as that is just, it would be too easy for those people if we consider BTC. It likes to wreck some people. It's just not good to keep both of them, or at least one of this team winning. It would be best to stop the shorts out, then stop the longs out, and then do the actual move. So this is how I am thinking about these situations. Yeah, so let's see. Is there anything else on the 5-minute time frame I need to be aware of? The structure here, previous demand zone. Yes, exactly. The data release is in 15 minutes. And if you want to see me trade this live, then yeah, you know where to find it. We do these live trading streams, as hopefully most of you know, almost every day. Okay, so it's either going to be me, Daniel, Igor, and then we live trade in New York Open, sometimes London session. Yeah, just to show you that the strategies that we teach actually work, because yeah, we can prove the results during these live trading streams. We track the results so you can see that all for yourselves if that's interesting. So let's go back to this right here. We are at the value area high on BTC. It's never a level I would long into, obviously. We've just seen those big longs open as we saw, but into the value area high in previous demand, not the smartest thing in my opinion. Yeah, so I wouldn't be one of those, to say that at least. Yeah, let's see. Do we have anything else that I can see? Tau. I think though that I want to focus on the bigger ones here to be in sync and then see what is happening. That is a solid plan. I can Tau, we had this perfect trade here on WLD. This was given last week in the Altcoin weekly update. Most people were, for some reason, I honestly don't know the reason, but very bullish on this coin. We had a massive run to the upside. I gave my scenario on how to short this. Okay, so if we see massive moves to the upside, we can momentum trade. That means find good areas to go with the trend, or identify the first sign of weakness and then revert or fade the move. This is the trading idea that I had right here, with a loss of these previous lows, and then I wanted to see the retest of the previous demand, which was marked out here. And from entry, this gave a rejection of 16%, so that's really not bad. But I don't see another good trade here. Let's have a quick look if there's something sticking out here in my watch list. Tau, I saw in the chat. Let's see quickly on the daily time frame if there's something I need to be aware of. This is what I mentioned, the series of lower highs. He is a little bit too weak for my liking. It happens very often, so it does make sense that we get a rather slow day ahead of the data release. On NQ and ES, we already had a very good trading opportunity, in my opinion. But yeah, also when it comes to my own trading, I am mostly waiting for the data release. I gave my daily plan this morning and I said if there is good candle formation, I can look for the scalp trades. But without good formation and a good feeling of what the market wants to do, I would just step away for that day. Because on the futures, we also had the contract rollover, which is going to be every 3 months. So that is always giving a bit of confusion as well. So we have ENA. Let's see, ENA. Yeah, so if I remember correctly, on ENA, we had some really, really nice trades. See, ENA. Yeah, so on ENA, I was just, and by the way, so this is setups I give every single week for the champion members, also in the Altcoin weekly update, but I explain how to find these trades yourself, because it's, I would say ENA was a very easy one to trade. Because on ENA, we had this nice consolidation range down here. We had the liquidity grab. We broke out of a very strong supply zone, we can see. Supply once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times impulsive break, the flip, and market structure is just continuing here. So what I mentioned is that this is even one of these scenarios where I feel super happy to ladder into a trade and work with a limit orders, because I would say 80 to 90%, yeah, let's say on crypto, it's 80 to 85% of my entries is market orders only. But this one, I was super happy to take on a limit order even. So that was limit order 1, 2, 3, only one was hit. Okay, fair enough, that's nice. But then to take profit 1, obviously a new high. That was a nice move of 40%. And yeah, can't really complain about that. So I would say though, this trade played out already. Okay, I must say that is done, and I am canceling these orders. Okay, so I already profited on that move, and that's done. So need to find something else. I can check the BTC order flow real quick. Yeah, of course. So what we tend to see around this time is that the order book is going to go a little bit nuts here. It is 10 more minutes. So let me just double check one more time. So I'm actually on the ball here. Yeah, so we have 9 minutes or 10. See the exact time, no, 9 minutes left for the Fed interest rate decision, and then we have FOMC press conference in 40 minutes. Okay, so what we typically see is liquidity being removed from the books. That means, or let's actually discuss why these data releases tend to give those big moves to the upside or to the downside, or both. Okay, so if liquidity is removed from the order book, which we can see right here, the DOM, okay, one single order on market has to find the next limit order. As we know, the market is 1 to 1. So if there is a thin order book, a thin DOM, price with market orders can or has to push further to the upside or to the downside to be paired with limit orders. And if all of the liquidity is removed, we can see these big moves, because typically if we have a normal NY open, for example, it's not going to lead to those massive moves. We can see a very volatile NY open, but just not those massive moves, because the liquidity is there. We see there is big limit orders in the DOM. But yeah, for those data releases, it is also something I can give as a tip. I am closing my local positions. If I wasn't out of my NQ trade, I am happy to close out of this trade. Some people could say, yeah, but if we drop, you could make a lot of money. Yes, that's fine. But these times we can experience slippage. So I am one of those conservative traders, and I'm saying, yeah, let's just be out and protected here. We can now see exactly this happen. So I must say, if any one of you is closing the local positions, well done. So that makes sense, because we can see there is about 30 million positions closing here. Okay, so this is positions closing. We can simply see that here by the open interest. If you're interested in that, we have entire lessons on this, but we can see that right here. Red is indicating there's liquidity leaving the market. In blue, increase in open interest means we have positions open. Okay, so now we see positions closing. Why don't we have a quick look at NQ, what we are doing here? I do need to mark out the A session point of control real quick. Yes, that is going to be an interesting level as well. So that's looking good. All right, so NQ. I'm not going to pre-plan a trade on the futures. I like to wait for the data release and then jump on momentum. Let's see if we get even more positions closing here. And now, not a big change. We are right at the VWAP, the weekly VWAP here on BTC. Previous day EQ, daily VWAP is above. The PNL is an AMP account, so live account. I do not trade prop firms anymore. So yeah, I stepped away from that. Like to focus on trading own funds only. I was always doing that simultaneously, but with all these changes that we always see, new rules left, right, and center, I just made a decision to detach myself from that and only trade my own capital. Hi CC team, Johnny L. Patron, remember your name. Nice to see here Severin again. Hope to rejoin the group in the future. Yeah, always welcome, of course. So it's getting close to the data release. I do have all of my trading accounts ready and waiting if I want to take a trade, okay? But that is also, again, one thing that is super important. I can be prepared for all the scenarios that can happen, but that is not a guarantee that I would take the trade. I am very interested in looking for good reactions, actually see that the market wants to react at my levels as opposed to just jumping into a trade. And that is why, yeah, the live trading on the website can obviously be helpful if you're interested in that. But having a predefined level is great. It's just not a guarantee that I'm actually taking a trade. Okay, all the stars have to align for me to jump into the trade. So we have 3 minutes to go. So going into the data release, I am now going to swap over to the website to do the live trading, as I want to be there right at the open and take my first positions potentially. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to see me live trade, you know exactly where to find it. This is chartchampions.com. Live trading is always available for the champion members. If you want more of these streams, make sure to hit the like button so we get the feedback to do this more often, maybe at some point even do a full session.